creation and the beginning of all things. In the very beginning, before anything else came to be, there was a quiet, vast silence. No sun to shine, no moon to glow softly in the night, and no earth to rest upon. Just a deep, gentle stillness. Then from that stillness there was a presence, a spirit moving slowly over formless waters. The world was dark, wrapped in a deep, calming shadow. Nothing had shape or color yet, only the promise of what was to come. Then, softly, a voice spoke. It said, "Let there be light." And just like that, light came gently into the darkness. It wasn't harsh or bright. It was calm and warm, like a quiet glow that slowly spreads across a room as the day begins. This light was the very first light, the beginning of day and night. The light was separated from the darkness. The light was called day, and the darkness was called night. And then the first evening passed, followed by the first morning. This was the start of the very first day. Next the voice moved again, saying, "Let there be a space, a sky, between the waters." And so the waters were divided. Some waters floated above, soft and misty, and others rested below. The space between was called sky, stretching wide and gentle. After the sky was made, the voice spoke once more. "Let the waters below gather together so dry land may appear." Slowly the waters came together like a calm ocean tide, and dry land rose out with a quiet strength. The land was called earth, and the gathered waters were called seas. At this point the earth was simple and new. It was soft and waiting. The voice was patient, as each part of this world found its place in a delicate balance. Then the voice said gently, "Let the earth grow green things." And the earth obeyed in its own time. Green plants began to emerge, softly pushing through the soil. Grass brushed the earth like a soft carpet. Trees grew tall, their leaves whispering in a breeze that didn't yet exist. There were flowers too, opening carefully, their colors quiet but beautiful. The land became alive with green, though the colors were soft and the shapes simple. All of these appeared gently, over time. No rush, only calm growth. The voice watched over it all with quiet care, letting the earth rest and bloom. Next came the light again, but this time in a new way. "Let there be lights in the sky to separate day from night," the voice said softly. And so, two great lights took their place in the sky. The larger one was made to shine during the day, the sun, and the smaller one was set to gleam at night, the moon. These lights stayed in the sky, peaceful and steady, keeping time with the passing days and nights. Alongside them, many stars twinkled gently, scattered across the dark sky like tiny sparks. These lights held their places carefully, quiet and sure, guiding the rhythm of the world below. Then came the quiet summons to life in the seas and skies. "Let the waters be filled with living creatures," the voice said, as the ocean stirred. Fish of every size and color began to swim through the new seas. Some were small and quick, darting softly through the waves, while others were large and slow, moving with gentle grace. Above the oceans, birds took flight. Their wings brushed the air softly as they soared and glided through the sky, each one delicate and free. Their songs were not yet heard, but their movement was full of peaceful energy. All these living things began to fill the world with subtle motion, each one a small miracle in the vast new creation. The voice observed, patient and unhurried. Soon the attention turned to the land once more. "Let the earth bring forth animals," the voice said with gentle intention. And so creatures appeared on the soil, quietly exploring their surroundings. Some were small, scurrying gently across the ground. Others were larger, moving slowly and steadily. Each one was unique, every life distinct, yet part of this growing world. The earth was filling with soft life, all moving in quiet harmony. Then a very special moment came. The voice said, "Let us make something in our image, a reflection of us, to take care of the earth and all its creatures." This part is tender and mysterious. It is not entirely clear how this happened. The words suggest a closeness between the Creator and this new life, something deep and thoughtful. So a being was made, different from the others, with a breath of life that was soft, yet full of depth. This being was given care of the earth and all its beauty. The being was called man, and gently another was made, called woman. Together they were given a quiet garden to live in, It was a place filled with trees and plants, soft streams, and gentle animals, a place to walk slowly and rest peacefully. In this garden, everything was calm and good. There was a special tree in the middle of the garden, one among many but set apart for reasons that are quietly spoken about. The meaning of this tree and what would happen with it is something that unfolds slowly, with patience and care. As the day ended, the voice looked upon everything and saw that it was good, very good. This was the calm beginning of all things, the earth, the sky, the seas, creatures big and small, and the first people, resting gently in a peaceful garden. The night came softly, wrapping the world in a quiet blanket. The stars shone gently above, keeping watch over the new world as it slept toward its next day. And with this, the very first days were shaped with slow, loving care. The story continues unfolding quietly with time, but for now the world rests in gentle beginnings, waiting to see what comes next. As the days passed in the garden, man and woman awoke each morning to soft beams of sunlight filtering through the leaves above. The world around them breathed gently. Soft rustles of wind carried sweet scents of blooming flowers, and quiet songs of distant birds filled the air, wrapping the garden in a calm embrace. There was a stillness here, a peaceful rhythm to life that invited slow steps and thoughtful discovery. The soft earth beneath their feet, the gentle warmth of the sun, and the cool touch of the morning dew spoke to them in whispers of the care woven into every part of creation. Man and woman began to learn the language of the garden, the way trees stood tall and strong, their branches reaching gently towards the sky. They touched the smooth bark, felt the delicate flutter of leaves, and listened to the quiet hum of life buzzing softly among the flowers and grasses. Streams meandered thoughtfully through the land, whispering secrets in their clear waters. Fish darted and danced beneath the surface, undisturbed and free, while dragonflies traced shimmering patterns above the ripples. The water offered a sweet coolness, a gentle song carrying life's pulse through the land. The animals of every size moved with grace and quiet purpose. Small creatures rustled carefully through grasses, their soft movements barely disturbing the earth. Larger animals wandered with unhurried steps, their presence calm and steady. Man and woman watched in still wonder, recognizing the delicate balance, the gentle harmony that held everything together. Each day invited new moments of peaceful learning. The sun rose steadily, painting the sky in soft shades of gold and pink before settling into a warm glow. When the sun dipped low, the sky shifted into tender hues of purple and blue, and early stars began their slow, shimmering dance. At night, the moon took its place, casting a silvery light that draped the garden in wonder. The twinkling stars spoke softly, like old friends keeping watch through the quiet hours, a gentle lullaby that wrapped the world in safety and calm. Within the garden, the special tree stood still and quiet, its branches full and strong, leaves whispering gently with a secret known only to time. Man and woman often looked to this tree, feeling its silent significance, sensing that its story would quietly unfold with grace and care. Their days were filled with care and gentle purpose. Man and woman learned to tend the garden, meeting each day with mindful steps and soft hands. They gathered fruits with respect, spoke to the animals with gentle voices, and rested beneath the shade of trees that seemed to hold the world's stillness within their branches. In this place, nothing was rushed. Growth and change happened in quiet measures. The garden was alive, yet calm, like a breath held softly within the embrace of all creation. The Creator, watching from the gentle light that filled all things, saw the unfolding story with a quiet smile. Each moment was a note in a slow and tender song, a melody that promised beauty, peace, and unending care. As time flowed gently on, man and woman began to understand their place within this wide and wondrous world. They were part of a great unfolding, a beginning that whispered of endless possibility and deep rest. The garden in all its living beauty stood as a testament to the care behind every leaf, every creature, every breath. It was a place where beginnings were treasured, nurtured, and softly held close. Even as they moved with new understanding and responsibility, man and woman remained wrapped in the garden's calm embrace. Every day was a step deeper into the quiet story of life, a slow and loving unfolding written with soft hands. And so, the early days of all things continued, wrapped in gentle light and quiet growth. A world carefully made, resting not in hurry, but in patient, tender watchfulness. Here, in the beginning, every creature, Every leaf, every star shared the same peaceful breath, a whisper of calm that promised the unfolding of all that was good and true. The first story, gentle and clear, sang quietly into the stillness. And in this stillness, the world waited softly, ready for the gentle steps that would come next. Beneath the canopy of leaves, the air remained soft and still, almost as if the garden itself took gentle breaths in a slow, measured rhythm. Man and woman found themselves drawn to the quiet spaces between moments, the spaces where time seemed to stretch and fold back quietly into itself, rather than rushing forward. In those pauses, they discovered a deeper silence, not emptiness, but a fullness that invited them to rest within its gentle fold. The special tree, tall and wide, its branches spreading like open arms, stood silently at the heart of this breathing stillness. Without words, it spoke in gestures, its leaves shifting subtly with the breeze, its bark warm beneath a careful touch. It held a patient promise, one not yet to be revealed but known in a felt way, as if the tree itself held the future within its living core. Days flowed with this same soft pace, marked by small rituals of care. Man and woman would gather dew-filled leaves, smooth as silk and cool between fingers, to refresh their brows as the sun arced across the sky. Streams, steady and clear, murmured secret melodies, winding through the garden's folds like a whispered invitation to deeper listening. They learned to move slowly enough to hear these songs, and in doing so, they found their hearts becoming more attuned to the world's quiet harmonies. The whisper of leaves was like a language, each rustle and sigh sharing stories that had no need for spoken words. Sometimes they paused for long moments just to watch how a single leaf would tremble, then settle, as if reminding them that life, too, could be both active and still, all at once. The animals around them, deer stepping lightly, birds gliding softly or perching with patience, mirrored this balance in their own gentle ways. Evenings brought their own tender melody. As the sky folded into twilight, the garden cooled, and shadows stretched like soft blankets across the earth. Man and woman would sit close to one another, letting the quiet deepen around them like a lullaby. The stars began their slow emergence, tiny points of light that twinkled softly, steady and unhurried. The moon, full and luminous, offered a serene glow that seemed to cradle everything beneath it in a gentle watchfulness. There was a sacredness in these quiet moments, the kind that needed no grand gestures or spoken praise. It was in the simple act of being, present, aware, and open. They felt the garden's heartbeat in their own, steady, soothing, and slow. It was a reminder that beginnings do not need to shout or rush. Sometimes they come wrapped in the tender hush of growth and waiting. Man and woman continued their tending with careful hands, never hurried but always mindful. Each fruit they gathered was selected with gentle care, each seed handled as if it might hold a new song waiting to be heard. When an animal approached, they received it with warmth and respect, offering quiet companionship without disturbance. This was a dance of mutual trust, a conversation held without words, but full of understanding. From the depths of this calm, a truth settled softly within them, that all life is woven together in a delicate balance. Every breath of the breeze, every ripple in the stream, every flicker of sunlight played its part in a story far greater than their own. They were threads in a vast tapestry, woven with purpose, though the pattern was still unfolding. Occasionally, the garden's silence was stirred by a gentle breeze that seemed to carry a secret message. Leaves rustled with a softness like a lullaby, and the special tree's branches swayed with quiet grace. In these moments, man and woman felt the Creator's presence as a subtle current running beneath everything, like the quiet touch of a hand resting gently on a shoulder. It was a presence that did not interfere, but simply held, steady and reassuring. This unfolding story, slow and unhurried, was itself a kind of music, an ebb and flow of patience, care, and hope. There was no rush to know all things at once, no pressure to leap beyond what the moment offered. Instead, each new insight came like a soft unfolding, petals opening gently to the warmth of understanding. The garden in its serene bloom was a mirror of this delicate growth. Each leaf, each animal, each stone and stream was part of a living whole. Nothing rushed, nothing forced, everything given space to be exactly as it was meant to be. Man and woman found themselves drawn more deeply into this web of life, sensing the infinite possibility held not in grand gestures, but in the patient turning of seasons and the quiet artistry of small moments. When doubts or questions stirred in their minds, They learned to sit with them quietly, as one might hold a fragile bird in gentle hands. These questions were not seen as obstacles, but as invitations to learn more about the garden's gentle ways. Sometimes understanding dawned slowly, like a morning light caressing dew-laden leaves, not all at once, but a little at a time, enough to warm the heart. As time moved forward in this tender rhythm, man and woman began to sense that the garden itself was alive with a deeper purpose. It was not only a place of care and calm, but a cradle for something greater, an unfolding story yet to be fully told. The special tree at the center of the garden stood as a silent guardian of this secret, holding a promise woven from patience and hope. Man and woman came to understand that beginnings carry within them a kind of sacred waiting. It was the surrender to time's slow unfolding, the acceptance that creation's greatest gifts are not hurried or forced, but grown carefully in openness and grace. This truth settled deep within their bones, as steady and sure as the roots of the great tree. And in that certainty, a gentle joy blossomed, a quiet gratitude for being part of the garden's vast embrace, for living in a world held tenderly by the Creator's hand. With each passing day, the garden's melody continued, soft, steady, and rich with hidden wonders. Night after night, the stars kept their patient watch, and the moon sang its quiet song of light. And beneath them all, the garden breathed in its slow, peaceful rhythm. In this place of calm beginnings and thoughtful discovery, man and woman rested in the knowledge that life itself was a gift, a gentle story always unfolding, full of care, hope, and the quiet promise of all that is good and true. The garden was their home, a sacred space where every moment held the possibility of new life, new understanding, and endless peace. Here, at the very start of all things, the world whispered its first tender song, one of gentle love, patient growth, and the quiet beauty of becoming. And with this song, the garden, man and woman, and the Creator together held the beginning of all things gently, knowing that the story was just beginning, woven with care, and destined to grow with grace. In the soft hush of early evening, as the sun dipped close to the horizon, man and woman lingered beneath the canopy of their sacred tree. It stood elegant and quiet, a steady presence in the ever-unfolding garden. Their eyes met with a calm certainty, a shared recognition of the profound depth in this moment, and the infinite patience that wove through time itself. The air was thick with a gentle sweetness, a mingling of wildflowers and dew that held the promise of renewal. Each breath they took was a connection, not just to one another, but to every leaf shivering with a soft exhale, every stone warmed still by the day's embrace, and every creature settling into the approaching night. They felt the pulse of life, steady and unwavering beneath the surface of all things. Without words, woman reached out and traced the delicate curve of a leaf nearby. Its veins were fine and intricate, like the very pathways of thought and feeling within her. Each line told a story, where light had kissed, where water had nourished, where the wind had whispered its secrets. In this she saw the unfolding of countless tales, all connected, all purposeful. Man watched her, understanding that this had become their silent language. Every subtle movement, every shifting glance, spoke of trust built not on certainty, but on the openness to question and the gentle acceptance of the unknown. There was a reverence in this shared surrender, a stillness that did not seek to fill with noise, but to honor the quiet spaces where growth happens. The garden around them stirred softly, branches swayed, shadows lengthened, and the streams sang their low, steady songs. It was a music without need for words, a presence felt more than heard, surrounding everything with calm assurance. The Creator's hand was here, unseen yet undeniable, working in rhythms too slow for urgency. It was a reminder that life, sacred and tender, blooms best in patient anticipation. As night deepened, the stars began to weave their silver threads across the sky. They shimmered with a quiet joy, like the breath of the garden reaching outward, to worlds beyond sight, to futures still hidden. Man lifted his gaze, and in the stars he saw the reflection of their own beginning. Small points of light scattered wide, each one a beacon of hope and a promise that the journey ahead was vast and enduring. Woman's hand found his, their fingers intertwining with gentle ease. Together they became a single fulcrum in that great unfolding, a quiet force grounded in the sacred soil beneath them. They embraced not certainty, but the grace that comes from openness, the willingness to move forward through doubt, through waiting, through the turning of days into nights and back again. Each step they had taken, each breath inhaled in reverence, brought them closer to a truth beyond words. They understood that creation was less an act of sudden command and more a sacred dance of patience and trust. The garden was not merely a place but a presence, alive, shifting, and full of whispered promises that all things would be made whole in time. In the shadows cast by moonlight, they felt themselves part of an endless tapestry, threads of light and shadow, ebb and flow, intertwining in strength and beauty. The garden, and the world beyond its bounds, was a living symphony composed with care, each note resonant with purpose. They did not fear the unknown, for it was painted in soft hues of possibility. Every question they nurtured was a seed, destined to grow in the quiet earth. Doubt was no longer a barrier, but a gentle call to deeper wisdom, a soft breeze nudging the soul to greater understanding. Man and woman remained there, cradled by the garden's timeless embrace. The steady hum of life around them mirrored the calm beating of their hearts, a rhythm full of patience, hope, and gratitude. The Creator's presence shone not in fiery displays, but in the subtle assurance that all was held safely, lovingly, within a greater design. And so the beginning stretched endlessly ahead, not as a destination, but as a sacred journey. Each moment became a prayer offered in silence, each breath a bond woven into the very fabric of existence. They belonged not only to themselves, but to the garden, to the stars, to the breath of the world awakening anew. As the night deepened, their shared quiet grew richer, deeper, a harbor of peace in the vastness of time. For in this space, between earth and sky, between question and answer, life held its promise, and man and woman, together with the tender Creator, carried the story forward, step by gentle step, into the dawn of all things to come. The night embraced them still, the garden a cradle of whispered breaths and gentle rustlings. Between man and woman, a quiet current pulsed, a shared heartbeat woven seamlessly with the slow pulse of earth beneath their feet. Each star overhead cast a soft silver glow, yet neither sought to outshine the other. Instead, they trailed faint trails of light, knit together like threads in a cosmic loom, reflecting the silent bond that stretched between the two figures. Without words, woman lifted her gaze to the sky and saw countless points of light, each one a seed, a promise, a story waiting to unfold. There was no need to speak. Man met her gaze and understood. The vastness above mirrored the depths within, as well as the expanse ahead in their shared journey. The stars, patient and steady, were eternal witnesses to beginnings and transformations alike. They whispered of cycles, of slow becoming. Their hands remained entwined, palms warm against palms, fingers curling around each other with gentle firmness. It was a gesture not only of human connection, but of reverence for the moment, for the garden's breath, for the unfolding mystery that had nudged creation forward, ever so delicately. Together they rested in this embrace, the silence deep and inviting, as if time had paused just for them. Across the soft carpet of moss and past the woven branches of the trees, life hummed softly, a lullaby sung in patterns of shadow and light. Somewhere near, a brook murmured quietly, a steady heartbeat of water moving over smooth stones. The sound wove itself into the fabric of the night, a tender reminder that all movement and stillness were parts of the same whole. Woman's fingers, still tracing the veins on the leaf she held earlier, now traced gentle circles on man's palm. Each motion was slow, deliberate, an expression of their shared presence. The leaf's intricate lines spoke once more in her mind, though now they seemed less like separate stories and more like strands of an enormous weft and weave. Every thread, every vein, a testament to the patient weaving of life, touched by the invisible hand of the Creator. Man exhaled softly, lips curved with a peaceful smile. He sensed a stirring, not a rush or an urge, but a quiet unfolding from within, a growing trust in the slow, sacred dance of existence. It was as if the garden itself conspired to teach them this truth. Creation was neither sudden nor chaotic. It was a breath held and released, a pulse that carried through all living things. A gentle breeze rippled through the leaves overhead, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and blooming flowers, tones of sweetness and renewal. The coolness kissed their skin, inviting calm reflection rather than excitement or fear. It was a breath from the world itself, a gesture of patience and care. Woman's eyes lingered on the horizon, where a faint glow began to tint the darkness, not the harsh brightness of day, but a soft promise of dawn's arrival. It was as if the garden welcomed the next phase of their journey, a quiet herald of continuing growth. In that moment, anticipation did not stiffen the heart. Instead, it softened it. Their connection deepened beyond understanding, carried on currents stronger than words. Man's hand tightened ever so slightly, a silent vow, an offering of trust and openness to the unknown path ahead. Woman's glance held a shimmering light, a mixture of hope, gratitude, and reverence. The garden moved with them, breathing and shifting gently, threads of green and gold weaving fluidly between shadow and glow. It was not merely a setting, but a living presence, its spirit intertwined with their own. Here, the boundaries blurred between self and other, past and future, silence and sound. No longer did doubt feel like a threat or disturbance. Instead, it settled softly, a fertile ground from which wisdom might emerge. It was the quiet questioning that nurtured understanding, the openness that allowed growth to unfold naturally. In this sacred space, uncertainty formed a gentle companion rather than an adversary. The world beyond the garden remained vast and mysterious, its crests and valleys veiled in silence as profound as their own. Man and woman knew they would carry this quiet strength with them, a strength born not of certainty, but of patient acceptance and humble wonder. Together they became threads in a tapestry that stretched beyond sight or time. Each thread, vibrant with life and possibility, contributed to a whole that was timeless and ever-evolving. Their journey was not marked by grand declarations or loud triumphs, but by simple, steady steps taken side by side under the watchful gaze of stars. A new breath passed between them, soft and full of promise. The garden, alive and patient, cradled their shared path, an eternal dance begun in silence, continuing with grace. Here, in the glow of night turning slowly toward dawn, creation was a hymn of hope, gratitude, and endless becoming. As the first tender light of dawn unfurled across the horizon, a soft breath seemed to stir the garden once again. The air quivered gently, humming with an unseen greeting. Man and woman, seated close, felt this quiet awakening ripple through their beings, a subtle reassurance woven into the fabric of the morning. Around them, the garden deepened its chorus, leaves whispered secrets to the breeze, and petals unfolded with deliberate grace. Life's pulse was steady, calm, a quiet heartbeat underneath the world's surface. The brook's murmur, a steady thread of silver sound, threaded through the scene, drawing a path that spoke of ongoing movement, continual becoming. Woman leaned forward, her fingers brushing lightly over a dew-kissed blossom. The petals, cool and soft, carried the delicate weight of moments held in suspended time. She wondered how such fragility could endure, for in its seeming vulnerability there was resilience, a hidden strength written in the language of survival and grace. Man's gaze lifted to the canopy above, where sunlight dappled through mingling leaves. Shadows shifted, long and soft, like gentle waves brushing the shore. In that gentle dance of light and dark, he felt the pulse of eternity, the vastness embracing the particular. The garden in all its quiet complexity held them safe, both the known and the mystery yet to be encountered. Their hands found each other again without spoken word, a tender anchoring. Between them a stillness grew, deep and unspoken, a communion beyond speech or thought. It was the space where beginnings breath and where time bends to something both ancient and newborn. Woman's thoughts wandered to the weaving of life's intricate patterns, the threads of existence that wove through leaf and root, through breath and bone. She sensed the hand behind the delicate architecture, patient and unseen. Yet it was not a distant force, but a presence felt deeply, a subtle pulse within every fiber. Man felt his heart slow, sinking quietly with the rhythm of the earth. Doubts that had once pressed like stones within his chest now dissolved into soft soil, fertile and ready. Each uncertainty was no longer a burden but a doorway, the soft cracking of seed beneath Earth's sheltering embrace. He welcomed this opening, this space where questions lived alongside quiet knowing. Above, the sky washed in pale hues of blush and gold. The morning air carried the faintest scent of jasmine and fresh rain, notes that stirred the senses without overwhelming. It was a perfume of beginnings, a gentle invitation to trust the unfolding, step by deliberate step. This place, woman whispered softly, voice threading through the stillness, is not merely where we are, it is who we are becoming, together. Her words shaped a shared truth, one anchored not in destination, but in the unfolding journey itself. Man's fingers stroked the back of her hand, each movement slow and reverent. And this journey, he replied, is held in the grace of patience. We do not rush the shape of what will be. We let it bloom in time, in quiet trust. The garden seemed to inhale and exhale with them, a living partner in their unfolding story. Each leaf and stone, every ripple of water, carried echoes of their shared hope. Here time was not a hurried race, but a soft melody unfolding, measure by measure. Woman's eyes lifted to the horizon again, where pale light painted a promise, not in sharp clarity, but in gentle suggestion. That glow held no fear, only the quiet certainty of dawn's approach. It was a sign that the story would carry on, held in the patient hands of becoming. Together they rose slowly, their movements deliberate and wrapped in care. The earth beneath their feet felt warm, the solid foundation beneath the shifting skies. As they stepped forward, each footfall was a note in a silent song, a rhythm both ancient and new. Around them life continued its tender dance. Bees stirred lazily among blossoms, their hum a soft counterpoint to the rustling leaves. Birds called in distant trees, voices lifted in greeting to the breaking day. The garden breathed, an eternal witness to the unfolding of time and life. Woman reached out, fingertips grazing a cluster of wildflowers, their colors muted but rich. Each bloom seemed a quiet testament to resilience, small miracles arising from soil and light and patient care. She marveled at the hidden strength in each soft petal, the quiet power that sustains and nurtures. Man watched her, feeling the deep thread of connection between them and the living world that enveloped them. This place was more than backdrop or setting. It was a participant, a guardian, a living memory of beginnings and becoming. Each day is a gift, she said softly, eyes reflecting the garden's light. Not because it holds all answers, but because it carries the chance to see again, with fresh eyes, open heart. His smile was gentle, a shared secret carried between them, a vow held in silence. We walk not towards certainty, but into mystery, and in that mystery we find our strength. The path before them was neither straight nor clear. It wove through light and shadow, soft earth and stone. But their footsteps were steady, marked by a quiet determination, a humble awareness of the journey's depth. As the sun climbed higher, its gentle warmth embraced the garden, touching leaf and petal, skin and soul. The moment carried a sacred hush, a pause where all things stood still and full of meaning. They settled again beneath a blossoming tree, its branches shading them with delicate tendrils. Here, surrounded by life's soft symphony, they felt the unity of all things, the visible and invisible, the fleeting and eternal. Woman closed her eyes, breathing in the scent of earth and bloom. In that stillness she sensed the pulse beneath all existence, the gentle, patient beat that carried creation forward in endless becoming. Man's hand found hers once more, fingers entwined in steady, quiet companionship. Together they rested in that sacred space, where beginnings never end, but softly ripple outward through time and heart. The garden's embrace lingered, a subtle reminder that they were never truly separate from the world or from each other. Every leaf, every breath, every moment was a thread woven into the seamless tapestry of life. And so, with reverence in their hearts and calm in their step, they moved onward, two souls embracing the infinite mystery, held gently by the dawn, and carried forward on the quiet wings of hope. The tree's gentle shade embraced them, a soft refuge from the sun's slow journey. They breathed deeply, the warmth on their skin steady and consistent, much like the rhythm of their hearts. Around them, the garden's morning chatter carried on, whispers of leaves stirred by a mild breeze, the distant hum of insects weaving through the air. This quiet symphony stood as a testament to life's enduring pulse. She traced her fingers along the rough bark beside her, feeling its history etched beneath the surface. "We are part of something larger," she said, voice low and measured. "Not just the here and now, but the vastness of all that came before us." Her words seemed to settle around them, as if the tree acknowledged the truth held within. He nodded slowly, eyes closed a moment, absorbing the weight and wonder of that thought. "Time folds upon itself," he murmured. "Moments folding back, growing outward, like the branches above us, reaching yet grounded." Between them a soft breeze carried the scent of earth and blossoms, blending memories and possibilities. The garden, in its constant flux, bore witness to their becoming. There was no rush, only the steady unfolding of presence. She lifted her gaze toward the canopy. Light filtered through leaves and golden pools, shifting with each passing moment. "Look there," she whispered, "how the light dances without trying. Yet, It gives itself fully to the world. He smiled gently. We might learn from the light. His tone held reverence, as if speaking of an old friend. To offer ourselves freely, without expectation, trusting that it will be enough. Around them a butterfly flitted from flower to flower, delicate wings brushing petals with feather-like grace. Its journey seemed aimless but intentional in equal measure. She watched it, fascinated by the quiet determination behind its fragile flight. Fragile, yes, she said softly, but resilient, a reminder that even in seeming vulnerability, there is strength. He looked over, meeting her eyes with a glint of understanding. And that beauty often arises precisely because of that strength, not in spite of it. Their conversation slowed, carried now by reflection rather than words. The world beyond them hummed quietly, the secret language of roots intertwining beneath their feet, the distant call of a songbird greeting the morning, the gentle rustle of tall grasses swaying rhythmically. Each sound, each sigh, threaded into the tapestry of being. She reached out to gather a handful of soft moss, lifting it to her palm. The softness felt like a whisper against her skin. It's in these small things, she murmured, the tiny patch of green, the subtle textures, the unnoticed moments. They speak to a creativity that never ceases. He studied the moss, appreciating its tender endurance. A creation that is patient, persistent, a slow shaping that weaves itself into everything. Together, they sat in companionable silence, a sense of sacred time wrapping gently around them. After a while, the woman spoke again, voice barely above the breeze. Remember how we began, uncertain, tentative. Now each step forward feels like a thread pulling us towards something greater. He nodded. The unknown no longer frightens. It invites us. Their hands found each other, fingers entwining with soft certainty. They rose slowly, steady on their feet, anchored by a shared resolve. The path ahead remained winding, veiled in shadows and light, known yet mysterious. They moved forward without haste, sensing that each moment was both an arrival and a departure. Along the way, a patch of wild clover caught their attention, its tiny blossoms crowded together, a quiet celebration of community and persistence. She bent to touch them gently. Even in tight spaces, life finds room to flourish. He smiled, tracing the outline of one soft petal with reverence, a lesson in coexistence and resilience. They walked on, the garden ever vibrant, leaves shimmering with dew, petals humming softly with nectar rich and sweet, creatures large and small weaving their stories into the air. As light deepened and stretched, the horizon held its gentle promise. The woman's gaze lifted once more, meeting the soft glow with renewed hope. This, she said, is how creation continues in every breath, every small act of becoming. He squeezed her hand in agreement. In every step we take, together, knowing that the journey is itself the gift. They moved with synchronized calm, their pace neither hurried nor stalled, carrying with them the sacred stillness of the moment. Time seemed to fold once again, as if their presence planted seeds beneath the earth, seeds of compassion, patience, and unity. At the crest of a gentle hill, they paused briefly to watch the sun tip lower, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose. The day's end was a quiet reminder that all things move in cycles, not just endings, but new beginnings. May we carry this into every day, she whispered. The openness to wonder, the courage to trust, the grace to keep growing. He nodded, voice steady and warm. May our lives be the garden where creation blooms anew. With that, hand in hand, they continued along the path, hearts aligned with the infinite unfolding, the ever-becoming story woven through the beginning of all things. The twilight deepened, folding the garden into hues of lavender and soft indigo. The air, still warm, was fragrant with the scent of earth and quiet blossoms. Together they paused again, breath measured and slow, savoring the gentle quietude that came just before nightfall. In this calm, the woman reached out to touch the smooth bark of an ancient oak nearby. Her fingers traced the subtle ridges and knots, a tactile conversation bridging present moment and ageless endurance. The man watched, sensing how the tree held the memory of every season, every passing bird's call. Its steadfast presence was a silent promise that life goes on, that growth continues even beneath the surface. Their eyes met, speaking wordlessly of trust made tangible. Just as the tree opened its roots to the soil's unseen currents, they opened themselves to the mysterious flow of life's becoming. A cricket chirped softly, rhythmic and persistent. It was a sound to anchor their awakening senses in the unfolding evening. The woman inhaled deeply, the quiet music knitting calm inside her chest. The man smiled, feeling the delicate fabric of time weaving them closer, a shared serenity that needed no explanation. As stars began to pierce the darkening canvas above, their steps resumed, gentle on worn earth. Moonlight filtered through leaves, casting mottled patterns like whispered secrets on the path. Each movement felt like a deliberate dance with the night, an offering to intangible rhythms nudging gently at their hearts. In this liminal space between day and night, they reflected on the nature of beginnings, not the explosive flare of birth, but the subtle stirrings beneath, the shifts where the unseen is about to become seen. Life, they realized, was a tapestry composed equally of light and shadow, motion and stillness, arrival and departure. They talked softly now, voices barely rising above the hum of nature settling into sleep. "It's like everything carries a seed of change within it," the woman murmured. "Even the smallest blade of grass holds the potential of a meadow." The man nodded, imagining all the unseen roots intertwining beneath the soil. What feels fragile like the butterfly's wing or a spider's thread often holds incredible strength. It's the tension between resistance and surrender that gives rise to movement. They shared a silence rich with understanding, harmony growing between thoughts and sensations. Further along their path, a gentle breeze rose, stirring the late blooming blossoms with a soft sigh. Petals fluttered quietly to the earth, an elegant dance of release. The woman's gaze lingered on the delicate fall, recognizing endings not as loss, but as part of the eternal reinvention. "Every release is a quiet invitation," she said, "an opening for something new to take its place. We don't always see it immediately, but it's there, ready, waiting." The man smiled and reached for her hand again. In that invitation we find our own births, when we let go of fear, when we risk trusting the unknown. Their fingers intertwined, a subtle pulse of warmth passing between them. The garden around seemed to lean in closer, listening to their soft vows. Under the emerging glow of the moon, they found a small clearing where wild violets nestled low among moss and fallen leaves. The colors seemed to catch on the silver light, spreading a gentle glow that felt like quiet hope. The woman knelt to brush her hand across the petals, marveling at how such modest things could hold so much beauty. The man knelt beside her, and together they breathed in the delicate sweetness. "In these small wonders," she said softly, "we witness the endless creativity of life. No matter how vast the universe, it all begins here, in tiniest acts of growing, opening, rising." The man's voice was barely a whisper. "And so do we, like the violet, like the butterfly, like the oak that stands through time. We are part of that unfolding, never separate." They stayed still for a long moment, connected not only to each other but to the deeper pulse moving beneath all existence. Their breath aligned with the pulse, steady and sure. Then slowly, the woman rose, brushing the earth from their palms. The man followed, rising with ease, a shared strength blooming between them. As they made their way back along the winding path, the garden now fully cloaked in moonlight, their hearts carried the quiet power of that night, the sacred weaving of trust, vulnerability, and emergence. The man looked ahead and saw the horizon faintly glowing with the promise of tomorrow, the first whisper of dawn yet to come. The woman inhaled the cool air, feeling the turning of time, the pulse of life ever moving forward. Together they stepped lightly toward what awaited, hand in hand but with eyes wide open, ready to walk whatever path would unfold. Their story was not one of arrival, but of becoming, of staying open to the endless dance of creation and surrender, always beginning anew. And so, beneath the ever-watching stars, their journey continued, a quiet testament to the sacred mystery at the heart of all things. As the first light of dawn began to stretch softly across the horizon, the garden seemed to breathe in unison with them. The quiet pulse of morning filtered through the leaves, the cool air carried the faint scent of earth and dew, savoring the stillness surrounding their steps, each footfall a note in a delicate symphony of renewal. The woman paused beside a slender stem where a single violet unfurled. "Look at this," she whispered, tracing the curve of its petals with reverence. "It's not grand or loud, yet it holds its own quiet revolution. This little flower opens not with a shout, but with a patient promise." The man nodded, his eyes reflecting the tender hues of coming day. "It reminds me that creation is rarely about spectacle. Most beginnings are shy, gradual, as if the world itself is exhaling, easing into the dance of becoming." They stood together in that moment, eyes steeped in wonder, feeling the gentle gravity of time folding around them. Neither sought to rush the unfolding ahead. Instead, they were content to behold the subtle scripture, written in simple acts, a petal's opening, a breath held and released, the soft murmur of life continuing without interruption. I used to think that transformation must follow a spark, a blaze, the woman shared, voice barely louder than a caress. But now I see it's more like the slow gathering of light, that invisible current building beneath the surface until something inevitably gives way. He smiled softly, understanding the depth of that realization. Yes, it is the patience of growth, the sacred patience of becoming, that carries us through. It teaches us to lean into uncertainty without fear, trusting that each small step is part of a larger unfolding grace. Together they continued their walk beneath the sky, which now shifted from indigo to tender blues and pale pinks. The garden around them stirred gently awake, a mosaic of shadows melting away, revealing textures and whispers previously hidden in night's embrace. The man reached out and brushed a lingering petal from the woman's hair. In this new day, he spoke softly, we carry all that we've learned: fragility, strength, surrender. With every ending behind us, every loss embraced, we are reborn, soft but steady, open but unwavering. The woman's breath hitched slightly, moved by the realization woven into his words. She turned to face him fully, feeling the invisible threads that tethered their stories together. It is in these quiet moments, she said, where beginnings meet endings, not as opposites, but as partners in this dance of eternal return. For a long while, their silence held that truth, a sacred space between what was, what is, and what could be. The garden's pulse aligned with their own, a gentle thrum of life, of hope unspoken, yet deeply known. As the sun began its rise, a warm glow spilled into the clearing, dappling the earth with gold. The violet petals seemed to radiate anew, a symbol of the ongoing continuum, a testament that creation is not a single event, but a perpetual unfolding, always tender, always whole. They chose a place among the soft moss, sitting close so their shadows mingled. We're part of something vast, the man mused, something that reaches beyond us into the question of existence itself. In embracing our vulnerability, we tap into a quiet power, the kind that shapes worlds from seeds no bigger than a thought. The woman nodded thoughtfully, the weight of that perspective dawning inside her like the morning light. And it begins here, in trust, in openness, in the courage to be both strong and fragile at once. The insight hung between them, delicate as the petals falling, resilient as the roots beneath their feet. There was a release in accepting that their journey did not demand certainty or perfection. Rather, it required presence, a willingness to meet each moment with a gentle breath, a soft gaze, and an open heart. As the sun rose fully, illuminating the garden with warmth, they rose as well. With steps slow and mindful, they walked back toward the path that would lead them forward from this place of reflection. The dawn carried with it promise, not of endings or beginnings alone, but of the sacred space held between, a space where all things could rest, emerge, and begin anew. Hand in hand they moved gently through the garden, each step a whispered affirmation that creation is alive within them, pulsing softly with the wisdom of the earth, the rhythm of the seasons, and the endless unfolding of life itself. And with their hearts open, they welcomed the day, a day like any other and yet entirely new, knowing that the story of becoming continues in every breath, every thought, and every quiet moment shared beneath the ever-turning sky.